Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. And in the last video, we have created a connect button. And in this video, we'll be continuing that process and set up a profile page or profile setup registration page. So let's get started. I'll have a new window and we will be going to first Wheat Wheat project and open up the Wheat project, get started. It will show that using npm we can use this command to create a Wheat project. So okay, once you have your once you're in your folder that you where you want to create the project, just type this command. Even if it is not installed, it will install the Wheat project and then it will ask for a project name. So what we will give it is a dmail. I'll just call it dmail. Package name dmail, that is fine. I want it to be a React, and you can use JavaScript or TypeScript, anything. So let's use TypeScript and just copy these command and it will install all the packages that you need. Okay, so it will start the project or start the web browser or start the development server. If you copy this URL and open it in your browser, you'll have your initial hello world application ready. So what you want, I'll just stop this for now and open up Visual Studio in this folder. Yes, so we have VS Code running, and let's open up a terminal. In this terminal, okay, I will have npm run dev. So this will keep the Visual Studio running. Let me exit full screen. I want this to be here and this here. Okay. Okay, so we have our project code setup, and what we need few packages. By default, Weed gives you CSS files, but I prefer using SCSS. So what I will use is npm is use SAS, install the SAS library. It will automatically allow you to use SCSS, and here as well rename SCSS. Okay, what for our decentralized or Web3 tools we need Ether.js. So I will install Ethers. So let me just check the package file. What I will do, I will only need the SCSS for development. I will put it in dev, add a comma here. Okay, to get the public key, so let me tell you how encryption works in MetaMask through using MetaMask. So MetaMask will create one public key from your private key or encrypted or your MetaMask account private key. It will generate one public key, and using that public key, you have to share that public key with the other user, and that user will use that public key to encrypt that message. And because it's encrypted using your public key, only your private key can decrypt it. So what our application will do, when a new user comes, the user will first register with our application, and during the registration he will generate his public key and save it in the contract. So we will need some libraries to generate the public key and encryption and decryption process. If we go to MetaMask, okay, so there is a very good article on Medium regarding this, how this encryption decryption works. I will share the article in the description, and this has a very good illustration on how this whole encryption decryption works. Let me open up in a new tab. So the user will first, when the user registers, he will create a public key. He will send that public key to the other user. So we will be doing that through the contract, and that other user will use that public key to encrypt the message, and only the private key of the receiving user will be able to decrypt that message, because it has encrypted using his public key, not some other random key. So this is so during this sending process, the entire data is encrypted, and no one will be able to decrypt it until unless that user has the private key. Okay, so what we will need for this, we will need few libraries. One is called ETHSIG. So I will come to this library. This is a library generated by MetaMask and published by MetaMask, and it has all the encryption or generation of public key already inside this library. So let's install this. This library also need a node polyfill and for buffer and some other node related applications or node related libraries that is not available in the browser. And since we will be doing all this operation in the browser, we will need those libraries or need those things, and to do that we will have some polyfills here. I will just put those polyfills and to get those polyfills you have to install few packages. Node module polyfills, npm I node modules polyfills. This will have a wrapper for all the node modules that we need, and we'll just add this in the node module polyfill, add an import. Okay, this will be okay, so this will add all the polyfills that we need. So once we have all these data, we don't need anything else. Let me just refresh this. TSX doesn't exist. Okay, so in the main we will be using the SCSS. In the app also we will be using the SCSS. This will fix this. Now what we need, we just created a let me just stop this. Yeah, we just deployed one application, right? What we need the ABI of that code. This will help the front end to get the function signatures and all. So we'll create a folder here. We'll call it contract data, and we'll have a new file, dmail.ts. In that we'll export all these important stuff like ABI. This is the ABI, that I just copied from this compiled version. If you click here, it will automatically copy. And we also need the deployed contract address. So this is the contract address. It will be address, and I will store this address like this. And I will also need the chain ID. We are deploying this contract in Polygon Mumbai testnet, right? So that Mumbai testnet has a chain ID. If you click on settings, network, and if you click this, it will show you the chain ID. Chain ID. If your MetaMask is not connected to the correct chain ID, your application should not try to execute this function or try to connect to this address. So once we have all these data, we can start writing our front end. Let me come to this app, and most of the thing I don't need any of these. We can just remove this part. Okay, we have an empty blank beautiful app. What we need to have some states. We need to know if the user is registered with your application. So we'll set one stage is registered. Use state. Similarly, we need few other variables. I'll just get those. So we need contract, we need the public key of the user, we need to initialize the contract object, and we also need to know what is the current network ID. Now we will set up our front end. Const init. So we'll have an initialization function. Async. So in this function, we will set up a provider. Const Web3 provider, and you just give the window So when you have MetaMask enabled, you will have a global variable called Ethereum in the global window, and you can get this variable using window command or window object from the window object. By default, it will not give you that window. TypeScript will throw an error because it doesn't know if there is any Ethereum there or not, and because we know there is an Ethereum object because of this MetaMask extension, we'll get this as an any and force it to get the Ethereum object. And once we have that, we'll get our provider, and we will need the provider to know what is the network ID. So let network provider, and we'll need get network. This will give the network ID, and we have to check if it is a network ID. It can be null, so we'll have to do a null check. And whatever is the current network ID, if it is not same, then we will not be able, we don't need to do anything. So we don't want to reinitialize the network ID again and again, even if it is not changed. So network dot chain ID, if it is not equal, if these two are not same, then we will execute the set network function. So now we don't have any set network function. Let's create this set network. Okay, let's create this set network function. We will be using this set network ID Okay, so once we have convinced that network is there and it's not the same, then we can use set network ID and give the network dot chain ID to set the value. Now we will also need a function to send the mail. Const send mail. What we need here is we need the to address and the body of the message. So what we will do here, if the contract is initialized, so we have a contract object, and if the contract is initialized, then we will be able to send a mail. Otherwise we will not be able to send a mail. So we have to check if contract is there, and if the contract is present, then we will create a transaction to send the mail. This will be contract transaction. This will be a type, and the value we will get from contract, and we will be calling the send function. We just created the send function here. That means we will be calling this function from the contract, and we have to supply the parameters, which is the to address and the value. So we will give the to address and we will give the value, which is the body of the message. Once we get the once we send the transaction, we will wait for this transaction to complete, and we will wait for at least one confirmation. So we have to supply how many confirmation that we want it to happen. Once there is at least single confirmation that this transaction is valid, then we will yeah, this is the promise, then we will complete we will finish this function. So now we will need some way to initialize this contract object and this public account and is registered, right? So we will be calling this init function at the beginning of the whenever the this component is mount. So we will use effect, and we will call the init, and we will use another use effect, and we will only be executing this user effect if network ID has changed. And what we will do here is if network ID not equals 0, that means the network has been initialized. What we will do, we will just initialize our contract. So we will also have to check network ID is equal dmail. So this is our file that we created here. This one, we will have a chain ID. We will confirm the chain ID is equals to the chain ID network ID that we just connected to, and if it is the same, we will set up our contract. Let's create a provider, get the provider, and let's create a contract, ethos.contract. We have to supply the we have to supply the contract address, and then the contract ABI, and we also have to supply the signer, get signer. Once we have all these three things, we will be able to initialize our contract, and we can set this value in our set contract setter. This will initialize our contract. Now we will be setting our public key, account address, and all the other stuff using some other component that we will be creating here in the component folder. Let's create the component folder. Components. There will be multiple components. So first thing we need is a component which is a connect button. So we'll create a connect button which we want to be here at the top. Let's create connect button. TSX. We'll create a React functional component for connect button. We'll need some properties as an argument of the connect button. So in this we need some events. Whenever the account is connect button has connected to an account, we want the account to be emitted from this button. So on account change, and this will emit one account string, and it will not return anything. Yeah, so we'll have props be props with children, and what we want init function here as well. So let's first put this connect button in our app, otherwise this app is looking very dull. Connect button, and we have our connect button. It doesn't look like a connect button at this moment, and we also have to specify this change, this event. Value set count value. So whenever the account button connects to the account, it will just emit this event, and we'll be setting this account set account variable. Okay, and let's come to this, and we will be styling this component now. This will be a button. Let's see. Okay, so this looks like a button. We want, okay, yeah, this looks like a button now. What we want is, whenever the we want a function called connect. Connect equals async. Again, we want the provider. I'll just use this and put it here. We want ethers library. And so this provider has a function called request accounts, and that will give you all the accounts that is connected to this this application, and for that we'll be using await provider provider dot send, and in this we will be supplying ETH REQUEST accounts. This will this will give us all the accounts that is available here, and yeah, and if addresses dot length or the first if the first account is not equals to account that is currently connected, then we will set the account and emit this on account change event. So for that we need to have a state to store the current selected account. We will have const account set account equals use state, and we have to import that. This will be a string. Okay, if the account is not same, then we will on account, so it will be props dot on account change, will give the address of 0 first address, and we will also set account with this. Okay, apart from this, we will also need to know if this user is if this dApp is already connected to an account or to the MetaMask. For that we have to initialize the application, means we have to have a function to call whenever the this component is mount. So we'll have con init and in this init function we will just check if it is already connected to the MetaMask. We'll check provider dot list accounts. In case there is your MetaMask is already connected to the dApp, the list account will automatically return you all the accounts that is connected. If it is not connected, then it will return null. If accounts dot length greater than 0, then we can have a connect. Use effect, and we want this initialization function to run at the beginning. So also whenever this button is clicked, we also want the on connect button to execute. Connect, and that's it. So we have our complete connect button ready. Apart from that, we also want this connect button to have a different text. Let's say if there is an account, then we want this to show up the account ID, or else we will show connect. and we want, if account is present, then we don't want it to connect again. So connect not equals null. If connect equals not equals null, then it will be disabled. That means if there is an account, then button will be disabled. If there is no account, the button will be enabled. So I think I have connected to this previously. Let me disconnect, refresh the page. So we can see we have our connect button. Once we click on connect, it will open up the MetaMask. We will click next, we'll connect. Once we connect, it will automatically show up the account ID, account address. We have our connect button ready, so we can put this, and the moment the button is connected, it will throw this event and set this set account in our app controller or app component. We have our account also, so we have our account set up. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe, and you can get the next video of the series somewhere around here or here. Bye.